Greetings YouTube, welcome to another Hop Zacian video. If you can't tell, because you're the one of two people keeping up with my videos, I am out to find the best Hop Zacian EX list I can. Started out with Archaludon, now I'm trying to pair it with Dusknoir and Munkidori. I am testing now a completely different way to pair it in my own time, but for now I have for you Hop Zacian paired with a 2-2-1 with 2 Rare Candy Dusknoir line and 2 Munkidoris with some basic Dark Energy that can be both used with the Munkidori and for that Snorlax. I have 4 games of Pokemon Trading Card Game Live that was like 42 minutes of gameplay that I've cut down to 12. So the video I'm going over is super choppy, but it cuts out what I think of a lot of the dead space. So it'll very quickly show us the moves of the different games, and if I have anything to say, I'll mumble over it, but it should be more condensed information than you watching me play the game casually for the whole 42 minutes. So let's just get into it. Here's the list in front of you with the counts. Here's the video. My first video was, or my first game was against Raging Bolts. Quit this one. I made some poor choices. They didn't start very well, because here I start with Snorlax, and I didn't have a great way to get out of the active without utilizing a switch or a prime catcher, and I needed to pull out, or I chose to pull out other Pokemon. I might have been fine if I had gone first and I chose to start setting up the Snorlax and them not be a turn ahead, being able to use their Noctowl's turn too, but I digress. My Raging Bolt matchups usually aren't super terrible if I can punch with my Zacian until one Raging Bolt and soften up a second one and put it into Cram territory, but I was unable to do that in this game. And I didn't have a good time drawing into stuff. Yeah, and I should not have placed that Zacian EX down because they're able to quickly knock it out, put themselves 2 prices ahead. And then I make a mistake of pushing Snorlax after that instead of Cram, because the best case for me to do here would be to, while they're at 4 prizes, to Cram again, and then Snorlax. But instead I pushed Snorlax. I thought I'd be able to knock something out, but I'm only doing 200 here because I don't have my own stadium, and so I was just kind of SOL. I would have rather have crammed and to take those 2 prizes, and then that gives me the ability to maybe draw into a stadium and gust for one of those ochre pawns, but I didn't sequence very well, and I do wind up quitting this game without seeing it through because I just didn't believe in myself here. But that's not to say this matchup is impossible. This is not a very good example of this matchup here. So even here, not being able to knock out the Ogre Pawn just feels bad. And one of the cons of this list is the Munkidori is only useful if you're self-damaging, and most decks are mostly knocking out all of your Pokemon. I'm actually just going to quit ahead and save us all just that little bit of time. Okay, next deck is this EV list. Whenever I see EV, I know Flareon's coming, and I know Flareon hits my Zacian for weakness, so that can be bad prize trade for me. However, I decided to keep with my usual pattern anyways. I pull out the Zacian, and I can take my first 2 prizes on EV, because I can take the EV and soften up the other one. I do expect the Flareon response, but that is okay because I believed in the prize trade for this one. And I do wind up winning this game, spoiler alert. Because what winds up happening is I am able to start setting up my Snorlax and have a Cram once they knock out my Zacian. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Yes, they knock out my Zacian. And they start setting up another Eevee. But what I can do here is I top deck an Arven, so I'm able to pull out a Cram and Band, and then knock out the Eevee EX they put on the board. And because, sure, the Flareon is one-hitting my one-prizers, I'm still ahead in the prize trade because my first Zacian attack, and I'm sitting pretty. Because I don't have energy on my Snorlax, I just push the second Cram here, because while it doesn't take the knockout, it does soften it up. Two-prizer style. I do take the risk of putting the Fez on here to get more prizes. Oh, and I think I just lied to y'all. I do attach the energy to the Snorlax, which is risky because I do research here and do draw a band, but that was probably a mistake. I should have attached the Cram in case I didn't draw a band off of here, but I wind up doing so. So I'm fine. And that Dusclops is good because I can turn into a Dusknoir here in a minute. Now, something to pay attention to if you didn't notice I did something with the Cram. Something to pay attention to if you are playing a deck like this. Do not turn your Cram off by Dusclopsing at the wrong time. Just pay attention to that when you're messing with your prize trade. But here I'm able to win by Ultra Balling for a Dusknoir, getting a knockout one of those one prizers, and pushing my Moon and taking the last two prizes on this Flareon for a game. So the prize trade here was just, magnificent and really only possible because of the Dusknoir line. Yeah, they quit before I could even push the Moon. Okay, this third game is a Golden Go. Couldn't remember the name of it. This deck specifically is just really, really good into Golden Go. I'd really bully their Golden Goes around because 260 is outside of my Snorlax range, but I can make up for it through Dusknoirs and such, and I can get that early game lead and prevent them from setting up multiple Golden Goes with the Zacian, and I can consistently do that. Here you see I set up start to set up a Snorlax instead of the Cram because I know that 30 damage in the other gimme goal turns into a 260 Golden Go EX that with 1 energy on that Snorlax is a knockout. It's just the math is just really, really good into that 260 deck or the 260 Pokemon. So here I didn't even mind that they took two prizes because I'm about to still win the prize trade with my one prizer, and they don't play that. There's a stage 2 that allowed them to flip a coin and take more prizes. The Golden Go doesn't play that anymore, so I do not worry about it being here. So, a little bit of a spoiler, I do wind up going to overtime. I have to go back and look, but this Fez is a unnecessary put down. They're able to get two prizes ahead here, and that kind of sucks. But I am able to do some cool stuff here. I was kind of struggling at that point, but I was able that Arven from the prizes counter catching of Snorlax does mean we tie here, but I win the sudden death more often than Goldingo does because of my Zacian. And in an actual tournament, it's a tie, which isn't preferable, but if it means I'm walking away with the set as with a win, more often, then that is just better for my deck. So it just not preferable that it's a tie there, but it is what it is, and they see that I got that first prize, and they quit. Now, if you look at this mulligan for my last game, you would think it is a Dragapult deck, because I see Dracloak, I see Fire Energy. Knowing what the deck is now, the Gravity Mountain and the Penny makes more sense, but I was like, oh, it's Dragapult list, but it is not. It was a Joltik deck, or Joltik box, I think people are calling it now, and I laughed when I saw it. Not the most amazing start here, I don't think. So I just kind of set the cram up and put the Munkidori down, because I do still think at this point it's a Dragapult list. When I see those two cards, especially the Joltik, of course, I'm like, it is definitely not a Dragapult list, but that is okay. Usually I can bully these decks by 2 hitting big prizes with the Zacian and then taking extra prize with the Joltik, but I don't do that here. I choose to bundle and they give me a Miraidon here in a second. And instead of getting the Joltik knockout, I soften up that Iron Hands because it puts it into that 210 range for my Cram, which is great. Yeah, so of course they didn't have any Gust here, so they just move into Joltik and start setting up a Pikachu, which I don't particularly mind. I think a Prime Catcher here for the Miraidon and put myself ahead in the prize race, which is great. And the Arven is great because the Snorlax is now ready to go. And they put that tool on the Iron Hand, so it's got some more HP, but I put another 30 damage on it, so it is now in at least Snorlax range. They do take a knockout with the Pikachu EX, and they push the Cram here, put damage on it. Can't knock it out, even if it can't knock it out because of the ability, and they penny it up, which is pretty cool. I can actually probably skip ahead because they pushed the Iron Hands and knocked out the Cram, but I am able to counter knock with the Snorlax. And they don't have a backup Iron Hands or really another way to take the 2 prizes they need for a game here, so that gives me another turn to hang around. And I am able to make a cool play here because they're at 1 prize. I put the Moon down, I retreat into Moon, a counter catcher, and take game. At least that's the plan here. But they're playing it out. They're playing out their outs, and I guess they wouldn't know I had game here. Sweet. And that was my 4th game. Not the greatest commentary you've ever seen over a TGC Live gameplay, but it is better than sitting here for 40 minutes in my opinion, and I hope that gives a good, accurate depiction of some of the pros and cons of playing Zacian EX with the Dusknoirs and Munkidoris. In the comments, please give me feedback. Gameplay too choppy? What do we think about the deck? How can I get better? Any new interesting ideas and ways we're playing Zacian EX that I don't know about, that doesn't involve Iron Valiant, let me know about it. Until then, keep playing. Well, let's all get to be really good at this game. See y'all.